And then this is the crazy thing that I didn't expect. I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna fire me. And we never do this. And she hands me an envelope. And I'm like, holy shit. The moment that I realized that manifestation was real. You can manifest just about anything. I've been manifesting for about 8 years now, and I've manifested everything from money, lifestyle, career, travel, even love. And you can manifest pretty much anything with this process. In this video specifically, I'm going to be sharing manifesting money and how I manifested my first $1,000 and what you can do to start manifesting more money into your life. Why $1,000? Why not more? Why not less? Well, $1,000 was just my starting point. It was something that was a little bit out of my comfort zone that I didn't quite think was believable. So if I were to test the process to manifest money, $1,000 was the number that I picked, that I thought, you know, if this happened and I achieved it, then I would believe my manifestation actually worked. If it was $100, I wouldn't really believe that at the time. If it was $10,000, I felt like there's no way I could actually ever achieve that. So I picked $1,000. Back then, when I first started manifesting, I had no idea what I was doing, but fast forward 8 years, I actually have the process down pretty well, that I actually manifest without even intentionally manifesting. And part of that is a warning where you really have to be careful what you put out there into the universe or what you're asking God if you're not going through the whole process, because you could unintentionally get something that you didn't anticipate. But I'll tell you more about that later. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Kristen and this is by Kristen Elaine. And if you are returning, good to see you again. Please let me know whether you're new or returning down in the comments below, and let me know where you're from. I'm really curious. Where did this all start? 8 years ago, I was not in a very good financial place. I had gone through a divorce and I had lost my job, and I had taken several pay cuts before I had gotten the job that I was currently working in. So I was trying to get back on my feet. I was looking at my life and going, okay, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, where I am today and where I see myself, I'm never going to have a house. I'm never going to have a family. I'm never going to be able to get ahead in life. So I was living in a very high cost of living state. I was actually living in Hawaii, and I'd grown up there and lived there most of my life. The cost of living was really high, and the pay does not quite compensate you to be able to survive there for a lot of people. I mean, donuts are $8 for a box of 6, and I want to say when I was there, milk was about $10 a gallon, just to give you an idea of how expensive it is to live there. At the time, somehow I came across this video called The Secret, and I don't exactly remember how it came into my life. I do encourage you to watch that video. It'll go into a lot more details on the law of attraction and manifesting. We won't really cover that here. I'm assuming you have an idea of what manifesting is already. I'm just going to take you through my process on how I manifest and things that I do that help me manifest pretty quickly, and how it got me to that first $1,000. But yeah, I just thought to myself that if I had an extra $1,000, it would really go a long way. It would really help me out. And as an auditor, I have this skepticism in me already where I don't just always trust the things that I hear. I have to test it. I have to verify it. It has to make sense. I just figured that I had nothing to lose really. And so that's why I started to try to manifest in the first place, was like, let's just try this out and see if this even works. This video is going to have a lot of information in it. And if you know me and if you've seen my other videos, you know that I add a lot of detail because I really want to provide the value. I really want the process to work for you. So I figure the more information, the better, but I will try to keep this as concise and clear as I possibly can. There are two different parts to this. So there's a mindset piece, and then there's a physical piece. So we're going to talk about the mindset part of it first, because that's where it all starts. And the very first thing that I did was I imagined having $1,000. And a lot of times people have this misconception, or that it's a myth, that all I have to do is just think it into existence and then it will poof appear. And that's not what manifestation is. It's a lot deeper than I ever thought it was. The very first place that you start is in your imagination. What I did was I was in my very teeny tiny 400 square foot apartment in Honolulu, and I closed my eyes and I just started imagining what getting $1,000 would look like. And I imagined myself leaving my apartment, and I imagined myself walking down the stairs. I could feel each step as I was walking down the stairs, and I imagined myself myself walking across the parking lot and how the gravel felt under my feet and what it sounded like. As I'm imagining, I'm making this process as real as I possibly can. I'm invoking my senses, taste, touch, smell, what I hear, what I feel. And then I get to my mailbox and I put the key in the mailbox and I feel, the metal of my key turn against the metal of the lock, and I open it up. And inside is an envelope, and I'm imagining I have this envelope that I'm pulling out, and I open the envelope right then and there, and I open it up inside and I pull out this check, and it's $1,000 check. And so I imagine this over and over and over until it felt real. When you first start this process is just to imagine getting the money into your hands. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? Picture it in your bank account. Picture your balance that you've logged into your account and you've opened up your checking account and you have your balance open and it says $1,000. And imagine what that looks like and feel it until you start to believe it. So let's talk about feelings for a second. So this was actually a really important part of the process. What would you feel if you already had that money and it was already sitting in your bank account? Not just picturing it in your mind, but really feeling into, how does this feel if I actually had the money? And that's the feeling that you want to actually carry with you throughout your day. And this feeling of, I already have it, it's already mine. And then feeling into that feeling is a huge part of aligning yourself and having your manifestation actually come true. When you're starting the manifestation process, it can feel really, really difficult to get started because you actually have to shift your energy. You have to get into energetic alignment. You have to get to a higher vibrational state, is what you may have heard other people call it. And the fastest way to do this that I know of is practicing gratitude. So that's the next thing that I did, was I was just grateful for what I had. One of the fastest ways to get you to manifesting is just being grateful, first of all, for what you already have. And second of all, being grateful for what you don't have yet. So that $1,000 that I didn't have yet, I was still grateful for, even though it wasn't yet in my bank account. And I just told myself that I'm grateful for the $1,000 and it's on its way to me. And the reason why gratitude is really powerful is because when you're feeling down or you're feeling negative or you're kind of stuck in a rut, when you start focusing on what you're grateful for, it shifts your mindset. It gets you focused out of the desperation, the lack, thinking of things that you don't have, thinking of things that, you don't want. And then it shifts it into thinking what you do want and what you are grateful for, what you already have. And it aligns you into this abundance mindset, which is where you need to be in order to manifest. That's what I worked on, was just being grateful for everything that I had. Even though I felt stuck, even though I felt like I was in a financial place of despair and I just would never get out of it, I tried to be grateful for what I already had. And it doesn't have to be money related, but just practicing writing down or thinking of the 3 things at least that you're grateful for every single day. Practicing gratitude in general will not only help with manifestation, but it will help you change a lot of your life because you start to become a more positive person and you just start attracting a lot more positive things into your life. That's what I've noticed just with practicing gratitude. So it's a really powerful tool. Something else that I like to think of is that because I'm appreciating what I already have, that's going to grow even more. The next thing that I did was focus on what I want and not focus on what I don't want. And there's a reason for that. So you don't want to be calling in things into your world and manifesting what you don't want, because that actually happens a lot more than I think people realize. You've probably noticed that you for sure know what you don't want. A lot of people know what they don't want, and it's a lot harder when you ask, well, what do you want? And there's a pause and you don't know because you didn't really think about it. Try to start shifting your thinking to focusing on what you do want, because there is a saying that where your focus goes, your energy flows, I think is how it goes. So when you focus on what you do want, you're going to get more of that, versus when you focus on what you don't want, I don't know if you've noticed this, but you actually end up calling in the same things you don't want over and over and over and over again. So I've noticed that for myself in the past. So when you focus on what you do want, you actually start attracting a lot more positive things into your life, and you start not getting the things that you don't want in your life. There's also brain science to this too, and it's called the reticular activating system. I think is what it's called. And so when you tell your brain, hey brain, we're going to focus on this one thing, your brain is actually going to be programmed to look for that one thing. And you do this for survival purposes. You do this to avoid pain. You do this for pleasure. And so when you actively focus on what it is that you want, your brain's going to be on the lookout for those things. And it's more powerful and positive when you focus on what you do want versus avoiding what you don't want. If you are enjoying this video, please let me know by giving me a like. It definitely helps my channel and I appreciate it. And if you want more videos like this, subscribe. Please join my community. I love talking about money and personal finance and personal development and elevating your life. That was the mindset part of it. So now we're going to move on to the physical part of it. You can't just think things into existence. You actually have to put in some work and you have to take action. The very first physical aspect that I do for manifestation is that I write it down. I either will journal about it every day or I will put it on a post-it so I can see it every day and I'll hang it on my mirror or on my desk, or I'll have it on my vision board, or I'll have it on a screensaver. I'll have it somewhere that I can see it every single day. And this is part of the reprogramming your brain so that it's constantly going to be on the lookout for more money. The next physical step to manifesting money is to take aligned action. So as you're going through the process, you've already done a lot of the mental homework, and then the physical homework is that there's going to be opportunities popping up in your world that you really need to pay attention to, because maybe it's a person that appears that has an opportunity for you or has an idea of something that you can do to get to your $1,000 a lot faster. Maybe it's a job opportunity, maybe it's a side gig, something like that. So there's going to be opportunities that pop up that may be right for you, and you'll just have to take aligned action and take those steps in order to move closer to what you want. I like to say the universe is listening, or God is listening, and they're going to put things into your reality to get you closer to what you want. And if things are coming by and you're saying pass, nope, I don't want it, I just want it and I don't want to do anything for it, you're not going to get it, because that's not how manifestation works. You actually have to take aligned action and put in the work to get there a lot faster. I didn't realize this at the time, because at the time I thought, oh, I just need to think it into existence. But yeah, that's why I'm talking about this, is that what I ended up doing was I just got to work. I usually work a lot by myself and I was in the office alone all the time. And so what I did was I started paying attention to what would make my boss's job easier. And so there was a filing system that they kept complaining about all the time. We couldn't find things easy. We had to dig through all the papers in the files. And so I actually went and I got just simple file folders. I think I maybe spent 20 to 40 bucks on these new file folders that had multiple sections in them. So it was so much easier to actually get to what we need to. I didn't tell them about it. They just kind of came in and they were surprised. And then I showed them and walked them through the process. Like, here's where you see the bill. Here's where you see the contract. They couldn't believe it, because I had taken the initiative to listen to the things that they were talking about and complaining about, and actually did something about it on my own accord. I didn't even do it for any money. I didn't even expect any money. I just was thinking like, okay, what can I do to work smarter, not harder? What can I do to make my boss's lives easier and my coworkers' lives easier? And so that's what I did, is I just put my head down and kind of went to work and tried to improve what I was already doing. So at some point, I actually just forgot about the $1,000, and because I was just working and I was just doing my thing and I was just moving along in life, but I felt better. I felt lighter. I felt happier. I was able to put more value into my job. And that brings me to my next step. And it's not really a physical step, it's more a mental step, but it's the last step to do, is just to surrender to the process and trust and let it go. And this one is kind of tricky to explain because it seems counterintuitive. Like, okay, we've already done the work, we've done the imagining, we've taken aligned action. So why am I going to just stop thinking about it all of a sudden? Why do I have to let it go? And the best way I know how to explain this is that you've already done the work. You've already done all the things. There's nothing left to do. Everything you've done is already within your control. Now you just have to trust and tell yourself that you've already put it in the universe's or God's hands. So now you just have to wait for it to show up in your life. You really just don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about how it's going to show up or when it's going to show up. That part's out of your control. Just know that you've already done what you have to do. and everything is working its way and aligning and shifting and getting into place to get you that $1,000. So that's essentially what I did. Was I honestly just forgot about it. And then this is the crazy thing that I didn't expect. I was walking home from work, and I live really close to work. It's about a 10-minute walk. And so I was walking home, and my boss texted me, or she called me, and she said, are you almost home? And I said, yeah, I'll be home in about 2 minutes. And she goes, okay, I have something for you. And I rounded the corner, and I was actually really scared. I had no idea what she had. I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna fire me. And I just thought the worst for some reason. Not that I, expected layoffs or anything, but that had happened to me before and surprised me. So rounded the corner, and she's standing outside of her car, and she's in our little parking lot in front of my apartment, and she's standing there, and she goes, I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you. We've seen all the work that you've put into the company. And she brought up the filing cabinet, and I just said, I just heard that you guys were complaining, and I knew that it would just make things a lot easier. And she goes, we really value you, we really appreciate you, and we never do this. For the history of the company, they've never done this. And she hands me an envelope, and I'm like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And I open it up, and she goes, this is just a gift to show you how much we appreciate you. And it was $1,000 check, and I could not believe it. And that's the moment that I realized that manifestation was real, and manifesting actually worked. Now, you could argue and say, oh, it was a fluke, it doesn't exist, but there was zero reason for them to give me anything. I didn't expect anything. I had no idea. I wasn't doing anything for the money, but it just appeared, and I was really grateful, and I could not believe that that happened. But yeah, I was floored. I 100% believed in manifestation. I was really grateful and really appreciative, but it also opened my eyes to believing that manifestation is a real thing. And it was something that I could replicate and get really good at and do it over and over and over. And I've done this for a lot of things in my life. It doesn't just have to be money, but this is where I started. I do have a warning though. If you're not careful and you get really good at manifesting, you can actually manifest things that you don't intend or you don't want. So let me explain a little bit more. My husband and I were just talking about a trip that we really enjoyed, and an opportunity came up to go on this trip again to this same location. And it's during not such a great time of year, and there's a lot of snow on the ground and ice and rain, and it's just not a great time to travel. And so they offered something that I've been wanting for a long time, and it's the drinking boot that you can pour your beer into and drink out of. I just want it just because it's fun. And so I was telling my husband, I was like, oh my gosh, they're giving away this boot if we go down there. And I was working myself up, and I was getting really excited, and I picture it so clearly. It's almost like I already have it. It's already here. And so I don't even realize that I'm doing it. But then the action stopped. We decided that we weren't going to go, but I still wanted this boot. And then I forgot about it. And so the universe decided, well, you want this boot so bad, we're going to give you something that you didn't ask for. So I ended up slipping and falling as I was going to the grocery store. So I got a boot on my foot because I broke my foot, and it wasn't what I wanted. So the universe heard me, and it was like, okay, one boot coming up. I was like, no, this is not what I was asking for. So you just have to be careful and be very clear on what you're trying to manifest, because sometimes it can get really screwy. But I would say this is probably the exception, not the rule. My manifestation experiences have been overwhelmingly positive. When you're starting this process, it can seem overwhelming at first. As you grow, as you get used to the process, as you get familiar with how this manifestation works, it gets a lot faster and it gets a lot easier. The boot manifestation actually happened within, I want to say, a week or 2 weeks at the most. It was very, very quick. The unintentional boot mishap manifestation, you can manifest almost anything with this process. Start small, but pick something that's kind of challenging, because you're not going to believe it unless it's something that kind of seems a little bit out of reach.